right in front of me, we have Microsoft founder, CEO, Bill Gates of Microsoft. It's an interview. I just want to show everyone how Richard Ellis and Bill Gates maybe are not so far apart and could be a potential good partnership in the future to benefit each other.
For its work on infectious diseases, child health, nutrition, agriculture, education, the list goes on. Why does Bill Gates care about finance?
Well, it's all about helping the poorest. And one thing they don't have access to is bank accounts. The fee structure, if you have small amounts of money, is just too high. And we got involved in some traditional microlending, but just didn't see how that could scale up and get inexpensive enough. So now we're involved in trying to make sure we get a very efficient digital payment structure set up for all the poorest in the world.
Well, wait a second. That sounds like Electroneum. I'm a little bit confused here.
To get financial products that work for them.
What are you doing?
The idea is that typically through the cell phone, you should be able to send money to your relatives. You should be able to track the money that's coming in, set aside money to buy seeds the next year. And there are countries where this is beginning to take off. Kenya, Bangladesh, even Somalia, maybe the last country you'd suspect, up in Somaliland. Almost half of the GDP is done digitally.
Well, the problem with that, yes, you can do with cell phone companies and you can send money, but normally not across cross-border country to country. It's usually in country, like in Philippines, in Bangladesh, not across borders. For that, you would still rely on other things like Western Union, for instance.
I don't need to tell you that the poor have been unbanked for as long as there have been banks. Why is this time different?
Well, it's really the digital revolution. The poorest have bought cows, stored gold, put currency under their mattress, but they are getting cell phones, and the cell phone capability of identifying who's using the cell phone, letting you look at your spending patterns, that's going to be common sense. People are going to have help and lots of innovative products competing on top of this digital currency platform.
So if technology, mobile phones for example, digital money, helps to increase access to financial services at the same time as it lowers the cost of delivery, why is philanthropy needed?
Philanthropy should just be here to bootstrap this. There are a lot of regulations in this area, and understanding how those regulations can make the cost of remittances, where you're sending money back to your family in your country of origin, how right now that has about a 5% overhead on it. We think
when he says like a 5% overhead, it's like $100 would be 5% like $5.
We have a role to make sure that, particularly for the smaller transactions, the regulations don't impose those very high costs. Once this gets going, then we'll step up to the applications and say, okay, how does a savings application help the mother make sure?
Now, this was about 3 years ago. I really am not seeing any applications that give a low percentage for us to send money except for cryptocurrency. These companies have been giving a chance to do cross-country border payments, but the percentage is just too high for people, especially the unbanked.
Money's focused on the kids. How does it help them stay in school? Set money aside for the uniform or for good future planning.
Some of what you just described, the need to move money from place to place, the cost of doing so, the overhead.
Sounds like Electroneum.
As you put it, makes me think, believe it or not, of Bitcoin, because some people have said, hey, Bitcoin is the answer to those problems. Are you a believer?
Well, Bitcoin is exciting because it shows how cheap it can be. Bitcoin is better than currency in that you don't have to be physically in the same place. And, of course, for large transactions, currency can get pretty inconvenient. The customers we're talking about aren't trying to be anonymous. They're willing to be known. So
And Richard Ells doesn't really want to be too anonymous either. He wants to be regulated just like Bill Gates. So in that way, Electroneum and Bill Gates kind of align on this issue.
the Bitcoin technology is key, and you could add to it, or you could build a similar technology where there's enough attribution that people feel comfortable. This has nothing to do with terrorism or any type of money laundering.
What kinds of people or private enterprises right now are helping to solve the same problems you're interested in?
Well, in some countries, the mobile companies have been fantastic. In a few other companies, it's been the banks. In some countries, it's a startup company that's neither a bank nor a mobile company. In Bangladesh, the Bcash offering runs across any...
Bcash is not the Bcash cryptocurrency. I thought that for a second as well, but it's Bangladesh.
phone, and they've gotten the regulation so that they have a product that we think will get very, very pervasive. So entrepreneurs are there. The enablement this creates, if you want to put in, say, electricity in a city, collecting your bills is one of the reasons why the underspending of infrastructure in these areas is a real thing holding back the economy.
You mentioned banks. Are the legacy institutions, for the most part, banks, credit card companies, payment processors, friend or foe?
Many of them want to have these additional customers, but they have to embrace the idea that the fees are going to be a lot lower. And so they have to find a way to service these new customers. Now, that means these customers aren't going to be coming into their branches, and they can charge a higher fee when you want to actually cash out. But if it's a pure digital transaction, then you should be paying less than 1% to move that money from you to a merchant or from you to a friend, even with meeting all the regulatory requirements.
Don't you expect them to stand in your way to protect their margins?
Well, it's a competitive field, and governments have a real interest in seeing this happen. Governments often want to make payments to the poorest, and if they can identify them and get that money out to them efficiently, countries like Mexico and Brazil have shown that's a way to lift people up. So the government, if they understand this, will usually want to create a competitive framework that draws people in to this. I think the capitalistic framework, with a little help from the government, will work well.
The profit motive will take over.
Yes, although banks are going to have to change their business model. The profits they'll be seeking will be different than the profit sources they get today.
What about...
So basically what I want to stress here is Bill Gates is working with the Bill Gates Foundation, and Richard Ells of Electroneum, they kind of align on their vision. Now, this was 3 years ago, this video, and I don't believe that Bill Gates has accomplished this as much or fast as he can. I would like to ask right now, why not Electroneum contact Microsoft and work with the Bill Gates Foundation, because both Richard Ells and Bill Gates are aligned on helping the unbanked. And this sounds like Electroneum could, it sounds like a win-win for both parties. Bill Gates has a passion. Richard Ells and Electroneum has a passion. Why not work together on this? And it would just be such an awesome thing for the community. They have the Bill Gates Foundation here, which you can apply. You can contact. I would encourage Electroneum team to contact the Bill Gates Foundation, and they do grants and different things like that. Why not work with a partner who has the same vision as us? And I don't know that the Bill Gates Foundation is so much financially motivated as it is with helping people in the unbanked. So I would love to see this partnership blossom into something, and certainly the two working together could accomplish a lot more than each by themselves. So let's just hope and see what happens.